Hey, everyone's got to eat, Slash. Sorry, my other speaker was on.
Hey, Rob.
Yep.
How are you? Doing good?
Yeah, I'm all right.
That's good. Got your camera on today.
Yep. Felt like it.
Cool. Got the whole comic colored in too.
Yeah. I mean, this stuff still needs some work, but
Yeah.
I'm at the point now where I need to like kind of get through a lot of it and then do some contrast and a little bit of highlights. But I did some noodling work on the face to get it all poppy.
Yeah. That looks really good.
Thanks.
I was talking with I can't remember his name, but the guy does Dark Comics, and
Roman.
he was singing your praises.
Oh, that's very nice.
Yeah, he's a really cool guy.
He's super nice, man. Dude wears his heart on his sleeve, you know? Like, he's
Oh yeah,
super, yeah.
I'm gonna subscribe to his Patreon this week when I get paid.
Oh, nice.
Yep, I like his stuff way too much, so I want to support him.
That's what I say. You know, if you can, then put your money where the, you know, I mean,
Yeah.
why does another mega corporation need it? You know?
Oh, exactly.
So what happens is a lot of the money that would have gone to me buying comics goes to these people. I know he'd be like, and he'd be like, no, don't do that. I'm like, well, sorry, Roman. There's not a lot of comics out there I enjoy. Savage Dragon and Invader Zim are about it on a regular schedule, at least. You know, the occasional
Yeah.
Spawn comic is pretty fun.
Oh yeah.
Um, but pound for pound, those Zim comics are pretty consistently fucking hilarious. Like,
Yes, they are. No,
I'm
Zim's good.
surprised. Like,
Evan,
they're like 70 something issues in now. Like, I don't even know how they keep. Is that like the longest running funny ass fucking comic ever? Like for that many issues? Like,
probably.
I mean, I can't think of
It's
anything.
it's really good. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's really fun. And who doesn't like fun?
50% of the country.
That's true.
If you
That's
really
very
want my
true.
opinion.
Yeah. No, I can agree with that. Doing you stupid cat. Hmm. I'm just using wax paper there. I probably asked you that before.
No, no, this is glycine.
Oh, glycine. Okay.
It
Yeah, that
doesn't
makes more
smear.
sense.
I'll also use it if I ever do dry pastel. I'll use fixative to seal it versus anything else because fixative seems to be one of the few. It doesn't diminish the color as bad as anything else. But
Hmm.
then I do a very light coat, so there's next to no color loss. Just takes
Hmm.
the if you touch it, it doesn't come off. And then I'll put this. I'll wrap glycine around too. But I haven't done any pastel in a while. Yeah, you know, when it's a character not a lot of people know, you don't get as big an audience. But this is where I like frown upon like artists who it's like you 9 times out of 10 are not going to get paid to draw the cool fucking character. 9 times out of 10 you're going to get paid to make a character fucking cooler than people know it's worth.
That's
And
very
it's
true.
like, you know, like, you know, so I laugh, and I'm like, people are like, artists out there like, teach me something. I'm like, oh, I'll teach you something. Go draw some shit that ain't popular and make people go, I would have bought that shit. You know, I don't know what that is, but I'd buy it because you did it. Like that's, you get there and you really don't have to worry about anything else. Like,
Yep. That's very true.
that's why when people are like, well, you know, we're gonna draw Moon Knight because the show's on. I'm like, no. You know, well, the algorithm, blah 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 blah. And I'm like, all right. Well, when I get around to drawing Moon Knight, you'll know it. Like, but it will because I wanted, like, this whole. It's just crazy because you know, having worked in actual departments with marketing people, watching a bunch of artists try to turn into like PR marketing experts. It's just, it's like, bro, you're an artist. If you make something cool, they'll fucking follow you.
Yeah.
Like, there's this whole like trying to like coordinate your art releases with fucking corporations like release schedules for media is just
No,
somewhat
not.
sickening to me actually. Like I get real nauseous thinking about it. Like they're setting themselves up for colossal fucking failure in life.
I'm just not into it. So, I mean, I don't really like drawing. There's a few characters that I don't own that I like drawing on occasion, but I like drawing my own shit. And yeah, that's very against the algorithm, and I don't care.
Hey, what's up, dude? Dude's here.
Oh, awesome! That is
Uncle Jerk.
fantastic.
What's up, buddy? Looks even better in person. This, as best as I can light all this, the computer and everything else blows out. Like I adjust all the colors and you know, I'm like it looks close, but it's there's still like a good 30 to 40% the camera doesn't capture.
Mm.
Awesome.
Oh, it's fantastic. That's absolutely fantastic with him stopping by. Sorry, I just know you as Jerk Comics. I don't know your actual name, so
Hello, Joanne.
and I intend to, as I said, I was telling Rob earlier, I intend to subscribe to your Patreon this week when I get paid.
Join the club, Allison.
I am
Join the club.
Join the
You would have
club.
got that Granita thing like 3 days early. And,
Yeah,
you know.
I'm hoping to get part 2 3 days early. So Roman, okay.
Yeah, Roman.
Okay, I wish Roman Dirge hadn't gotten messed up in that accent. I wasn't sure who we were talking about there or anything, and I didn't want to sound like, well,
Oh, it's okay. I'll get it wrong.
well,
Just get it
you're
wrong.
fine.
Who cares?
That's me.
Oh no. Let's get it all. Everyone gets things wrong. Then
No,
they
I know
can, it's
that.
just being corrected is not the problem. You know, it's when they
No,
correct you and you stick with it, like Steven
that's
Seagal.
true.
Then
Oh
you're an
yeah.
asshole. Right?
Oh god,
In a
yeah.
world of Jim Leesby, I've apologized, Slash Man. Other than the Death of Superman issue, Dan Jurgens is not my Superman artist.
No.
Coincidentally, the one time I've come up on someone else name. Um, in terms of making a character popular, John Bogdanov was my artist of that year on Superman. And
Yeah.
I would say that the issue that Doomsday first appears, that one where he's in the green outfit,
I
is
love that issue.
that way he draws Clark and everyone on that issue is my ideal. Like, he never really quite hit that style again quite perfectly on those characters, but the proportions on everyone is my personal like favorite. Is blue and gold. Is blue and gold.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, more of a Keith Giffen guy, you know, myself. When it comes to that kind of
Consider
like
the one
era of
time you
DC.
he'll say Roman. That's funny.
Yeah. And I keep bugging like every 6 months I sort of bug Bill Sienkiewicz a little bit, just like a couple posts, you know.
Hmm.
But I'm just killing for like a black and white edition of The Shadow, you know?
Oh god, that would be awesome.
Because as much as I love that colorist, the colors on that are not good.
No.
they're not good.
No.
She's fantastic colorist, you know, love her Daredevil or Batman Year One work and all that stuff. But We need a black and white edition. Jurgen Superman's Rush. Yeah, it's just it's just everyone has their personal favorite ideas of shapes and stuff, and Bogdanov to me was always like that bulkier, somewhere between a Walt Simonson and a little bit of Bruce Timm in there, a little bit of
Yeah,
it's got a nice blend. It
I
just kind
love.
of depends on who was inking Bogdanov, though. Sometimes they can get too, I don't know, like that's a crazy schedule those DC artists were under though at the time
Yep.
too. So
Oh,
weekly Superman comics, right? Remember that?
yep. Yep. It was a Superman comic every week. So yeah, it was nuts. A Superman and Batman comic every week.
Yeah, I didn't really pick up much of the Batman stuff other than um, anytime Azrael was in it. Like that was kind of my
That
jam.
that was more when I was picking stuff up because I enjoyed.
Yeah,
I liked the way he looked.
yeah. It was a bummer because I'd go to Comic Con, right, San Diego Comic Con, and
Hmm.
they would have these previews of the upcoming comics, and Kelly Jones's stuff would be there in black and white, and I was like, "This is amazing," and then the colors would show up, and I'm like, "I don't know if the colors are my thing." Like, by the way, Roman, dude, that Kelly Jones interview is fucking brilliant. By the way,
Yes,
like
that interview was fantastic.
the advice that he gives is spot on as a professional artist. I'm like, I really wish, I had heard a bit more of that because when I started working with publishers, like I would constantly like change up what I thought they were expecting me to do versus doing what I knew I wanted to do, kind of thing, with
Mm.
something. And so like I came around it on my own, but the way he describes it, like he articulates it perfectly, is like is like so helpful. Like I mean now I get it, but a lot of people are going to hear that, and have the ability to hear it. And I will always push artists to go listen to that interview because
Oh, that
it's
interview is
fantastic.
amazing.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, Kelly was saying that the colors on that were very watercolory. I would be interested to see what the color guides look like before printing on his
Mm.
work on that. That maybe
Yeah,
there's something missing there. Happy here was never a professional graphic designer, but he was just a fountain. Yeah. So I would be very interested to see what those color guides look like.
I would have
I
too.
own like a couple of I own like 6 or 7 color guides from Cyberforce I got off, Joe Chiodo back in the day. And like just seeing his marker work on those it's the comic, but it's definitely got a more artist quality to it, than
Mm.
kind of ended up in the final color computer set.
I would absolutely love
So
to see those. That would be so cool.
yeah, I'll have to do something on
Old,
here at some point with that. Put them
yeah,
on
old image
like a
color
photo.
guides and stuff. That'd be sweet,
Yeah.
especially from like the Silvestri studio and Top Cow.
Well, I almost had a couple of Ruben Rude pieces off Spawn, dude, back in the day in Savage Dragon, but
Damn.
I think like right when they were about to fucking make the deal, they're like, "Oh, we lost them." I'm like, "No, you figured out what they were worth. Like, that's what it was." Like,
Yeah,
happens.
yeah.
I, I asked him that, but so I can't believe we talked to you for 7 hours. Yeah, it's awesome.
That was
I asked him
so
about
good.
that, and he didn't have them, but I get the feeling they're drastically. I do too. I do too, because I was waiting for him to be critical of they're just very flat. Like, and I'm all for newsprint. I actually like newsprint.
I
Like I
love
even
it.
like the newsstand edition of Spawn. Still, the new because they kept it on newsprint. I still think it looks better,
Yeah,
but that's me. But I suspect that those color guys looked way better than But I don't know.
yeah.
I don't know.
No, I much prefer newsprint. I would print my comic on newsprint if it wasn't. It's like more expensive unless you're getting.
Well,
Yeah,
you don't have to these days because if you really wanted the feel, just go on uncoated paper,
that's
and
true.
that'll get you what's on a lot of the Calvin Hobbes hardcovers.
That's
That's
true.
just uncoated paper, so it's not that big a deal, and it'll get you pretty close.
Yeah,
Without and since it's archival, it won't yellow. But
that's true.
um,
I hadn't really
yeah,
thought about doing that. Yeah, that's a good idea.
yeah, you'll get a very similar effect.
That's probably
You're
more
just
what
gonna
I'd
want to make
want.
sure that if you do that, make sure
Hmm.
your text is rich black, 100%.
Oh yeah,
and
Yeah,
everything
no, that
else
makes
needs to be
perfect.
off 100% because you'll get loaded up on the docking like the blacks. It'll muddy up the whole thing.
Hmm.
So
I will. What was it? Yeah, I could easily I can make adjustments so it works. Granted, with the way I'm coloring right now and stuff, I don't use a lot of blacks, so that would work.
we got the single max color guide and seeing the reduction loss of color makes me think the same thing in newsprint all day, but uncoded. Right. Yeah.
Hmm.
Right. Yeah. Like that's the thing that like it was funny. I didn't discover the IDW redos until like I don't know like a year or two ago. For some reason, it just flew under my radar. Like I always saw the covers, but I figured they were just reprints. I didn't really bother looking, and then I saw that they redid the colors, and it wasn't until like your Sam Keith doc where you kind of explained that you feel Sam had a hand in that, and I still think it's a colossal mistake because most colors these days, and I'm not faulting that colors, it's not them, but a lot of colors these days they just put brown in everything, and I don't understand why you would do that. Like
It doesn't make
I just
logical
don't.
sense. But hey,
It doesn't look very good in my
no.
opinion either. It just looks very like that brown works great when like Sam and them is doing the canvas, right? That has
Hmm.
that natural earthy tone. But brown and digital color just looks. I mean, it just looks like dog shit. It doesn't really. It's, a few artists have pulled it off. Eisenhower being one of them. Richard Eisenhower, the way he would use. People are going to throw bricks, man, but I cannot stand those pens. Yeah, they're not good, man. They're really not good. And I'm friends with the guy who was editor in chief at the time. David Hedgecock. And had I known, I would have brought it up to get some like, hey, what is going on with that? But I didn't really know what was going on, and I guess I could still ask him, but kind of had a little bit of personal career fall. I don't want to say falling out, but like a just parting of ways. So it'd be weird to hit him up now and go, "Hey, can I talk to you about Sam? What's up with these colors?"
What did they suck?
Those colors look like a blob from across. So I have the maximized issues next to the OG. Yeah, yeah. The colors would be a great B cover, but I would still prefer the original covers. So his best modern work for me, in terms of the way like the coloring of his line work, was that Hulk Wolverine story where they're in the snow.
Yeah,
With that like girl drawn in crayon and shit, little ghost story. I
yeah.
thought that was because like when they color his work flatly, I don't think it benefits his inks.
Mm.
But I thought that had like some of the best lyric. That and legs was really good. I think that
Mm.
Eisenhower did legs. I think I can't remember the colorist on the Hulk Max, but I really like that one. Some people don't like it because they're like, oh, nothing happens. I could look at it all day.
Yeah, though I can pretty much look at anything he does, so that
Eisenhower
is
is one of the big reasons
personal
for those
fault.
colors. Yeah, they don't work for the Max, man. Not at all.
No,
The 90s were colorful. It's a product of the 90s. Keep the
that
color.
is
I
that
could
is very
I couldn't
true.
imagine them recoloring Spawn and making everything brown.
That'd be weird.
Just take the first 100 issues, delete the colors, and make everything tone. I just couldn't imagine that. It's entirely odd. So weird. It's a bummer. But I still
Mm.
like the covers. They're very artsy. Gallery. There should be like gallery covers. Like the incentives and stuff.
What I wanted.
Look, I don't have to look. I don't have to look at it. Doesn't matter. See?
Mm.
I can't tell. Looks just as good. I couldn't understand why he'd done it for years until I did the doc. Makes sense, I guess. Yeah, makes sense. I just don't agree with it.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's that whole George Lucas thing. Like, I get his increasing special effects. I mean, if Sam wanted to go back and add pages to clarify story, then those pages could look brown. I fine if that's what he wanted to do, but changing the originals. Mm,
Yeah, I don't quite get that either.
oh well. He named Lucas saying that was why he wasn't going to do it. I know. I know. I only saw Sam once in person. It was at San Diego Comic Con. I want to say it was 95 or 96, right? It might have been 2001. I cannot remember. Those years kind of blurred. I just remember it was a small panel upstairs. I was super looking forward to seeing it. Not a lot of people were there. He was late.
Just
Like quite a bit late. Like people left. I didn't. I'm like, I'll sit right here for the entire hour. I don't give a shit. He showed up, apologized, and claimed credit that that's just how he is. And then he told a bunch of stories, like especially on the Hulk stuff, like when he was on that Hulk issue, that one, how he just didn't want to do the last two pages. To him, like the last page or two were done, but he didn't turn them in, and he kept getting phone calls. We really need those pages. He's like, yeah, but do you? Like,
I mean, you
I don't know
really
if it's true, but it was he told the story. It was hilarious. And as a budding artist at the time, like I was like, oh, you could do that, huh? And he was like, yeah, probably not a good idea. But I was like, oh, I had to go. Fine, I'll go finish the pages.
oh, it's funny.
He's like, to me they were done.
Do you really need them? Do you?
Out of all the panel, because I used to love going to those panels. This was before there were giant crowds for that sort of thing, and that's one of the few things I ever remember. Just he wasn't Joe. That part, I just whether that story is true or not, I do believe that conversation happened between him and an editor at some point. Because, yeah,
I can see it.
yeah.
I could completely see it.
Fashionably late. He was like 45 minutes late for a spotlight panel at STCD, and he would never have gotten that issue done without Kelly. Yeah, I totally believe that. So yeah, 100%, 100%. But that's the only time I've ever, and I was right there in the front, like staring at him. So that's the only time I've ever personally seen him in person.
Mm. I've never met him.
And I had no idea that he was like a recluse like that. Like no clue. So I just was like, oh, he's just being funny. Turns out, no, that's how. I was like, oh, that's funny. Huh. Okay. I have gotten to that point, sometimes in a piece you're like, do I really need to do that? Can you just I always think that, like, yeah, I need to do it. Very good cautionary story from Mr. Keith.
That's awesome.
What's it do with the chat on all platforms or on here? Um, it's on all platforms. Because I'm getting it from all sides. I don't know why the Facebook ones aren't coming through. That might be a Facebook issue.
Hmm.
I think Sam's easing into retirement. Thing is, he feels like he's been kind of doing that since '98 when he left Max. One day I'll get him a tag. You're probably in the best position out of anybody, Roman. Seriously, dude. You know.
Yeah, that would make sense. Well, with what Roman said, but I agree with Rob. You're in the best position of any of us to know that. So, I mean, I know he was like homeless for a while, I think, or something.
No, that's you're thinking about Bill Mesner Loebs.
Oh, okay.
Gotta go get Scott done everyone. Oh. I've been in his office at IDW because, like I said, I did covers for him and stuff, and he has one of those like pages of X-Men up there, Jim Lee originals.
Mm.
Like that's why he does all those gallery, those artist editions. He knows all those dudes, like he has all that shit. So. Yeah, Bill in his oh yeah, Bill. Yeah, I know bums me out hearing about it. That's the problem, like the minute there's a regime change at a studio, it doesn't matter how good you are, they bring their friends with them. And then it's like what left for I just feel like those guys from Bill's part of that like 80s boom, right?
Mm.
And those indie comics in the 80s were all about like this really quirky, this very 80s quirky sense of humor. And when it came to doing indie comics later, like let's say he tried to transition around the late 90s or early 2000s and do an image book, he kept that, like that weird 80s stuff going. And it's like, that's not relevant now. Like you're going to have to somehow transition over to an indie book that would have favored, something a little bit more. Yeah, you're on dead. And it's just, that's my thing. As an artist, I'm always thinking about, because I did Romy, you don't know much about me, but like I did retail clothing, men licensed T-shirts for like companies like Mad Engine, Sea Life, Logotel, and ODM, and so like working on licensed property from 2005 to 2015 or so. You know, quickly you learn how to like shift, right? Like to stay relevant, stay true to who you are, but shift to the times. And it just felt like Bill was known for Wonder Woman, should have created his own Wonder Woman character and gone right to Image with it. You know,
Yeah.
like his own like authority kind of style take on Wonder Woman or whatever he wanted to do. It could have been more surreal, like the Max, but that's what he was known for. The Flash, like his own version of those things, and just then those people who loved that stuff and remembered him would have come to that. But that whole weird, like like I mean, I got a bunch of old Eclipse comics sitting right here, like Dominion and stuff. And you look at the ads for those comics from the '80s, a bunch of brilliant artists, but you're like that, they would just keep trying to do that now, like if they came back, and it's like, no, you gotta take what you were known for and then add the modern version of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, Bill's an antique in a lot of ways. He kept pushing for Journey to be an image. Yeah, like, and it's like Wonder Woman, Flash, he knows all those things. Make your own versions of those with like a different bent. Neither was Sam, who refused to run Journey as a backup. I'm thinking of so like Larson did an interview with one. I can't remember what interview he was on. It might have been over at Comics Cafe, but he was talking about how he'd get people. He's like, hey, we get pros at Image. You'd come to Image and they'd want to do like a comic book about fishing. And he's like, look, I get like you're really into this fishing comic and that's cool, but you just came off Spider-Man. I don't know if your Spider-Man fans are looking for a fishing book. like, like maybe you get them on something similar to Spider-Man, and then third book in after that, you go and do like a fishing one-off or something. Once they're kind of following you.
Hmm.
But you know how fickle these markets are. Once fans kind of know you for something, they kind of want to get that from you every time, for better or for worse. And artists, I like we all like to be like, oh, I'm bored with that. I want to do something else. I get that, but it always has to be within a certain box, and it's the box you sort of get known for being. Like Sin Cabbage has a box. He can step out of it, but it's always he's stepping out of it, but he's still Sin Cabbage. It's clearly him. But when you do weird shit, like just expect less people to fucking be there for it. And yeah, I mean, some people manage to pull that off and stick with it. Like the only thing from the '80s that really stuck around like that was like Usagi and Turtles.
Yep.
The critters. Like
Exactly.
weird how that worked out. He created the gay Pied Piper and he did that psych. Yeah, went over big, but Image did not like Bill and thought he was uncool. Well, that's a real shame. Yeah, I get that particular Image era, but if he had just paired up with the right artist, or flipped his own art in a way, sometimes you got to go back to the lab, and
Yeah.
I've had to reinvent my art a couple times, already.
I've
When
reinvented
I
my.
was doing, when I was doing covers I was doing cover work for Tom over at Big Dog Inc. He wanted that whole J. Scott Campbell look, and I was like, this will be fun to do. I mean, I'm not. I like Danger Girl. I never really sat around drawing J. Scott Campbell stuff, but I'm like, oh, I can take this on. I can do that. But then, like, the minute I stepped out of that, then we parted ways. He was like, nope. And so I had to like get my fans like to follow me on a different path. He was even asked to not sit in for pictures. Well, that's just bullshit, dude.
That is
You know?
bullshit.
Yeah, fuck that shit. He's more important than any of those people running those cons. Who the fuck's gonna remember anyone who put together a convention? Like even if you that's why I like Jimmy J. He's a nice guy, and he puts his name on the convention. You know what I mean? It's like, all right, no one's gonna remember that. It's still fucking Vegas Con or whatever. Jimmy J's Vegas Con. It's still Vegas Con. Like, amen to that. I've had a bad connection. Let me see. Yeah, Dan, you got some bad connection. I'll answer this one. He had one up here. Going back to your newsprint printing would be cool to print an issue in that. With the colors approaching to be different that way? Well, the only thing, it's still digital these days. The only thing you'd have to remember with printing on newsprint is you're not going to get it. Sorry, excuse me. You're not going to get a rich black. The only thing that's going to print like in a a rich black would be the text. So
Mhm.
it's transparent. So you got to really watch docking, and the docking might be like generally the threshold's 280 for a lot of digital printing. It might be lower, like that depends on talking to the printer. Might be somewhere like at 200 or even 180 because if it saturates the paper, then it buckles.
Yeah.
No one wants a
I could ask.
buckled comic.
I'm friends with Peter Simity, who is the owner, creator, publisher of Alterna Comics, and he prints everything on newsprint. I could ask him about it. He would know.
Yeah, that'd be a good question to ask.
Because he's got a full printer and all that. I've tried submitting to him a couple times. He's rejected me. But hey, some friend.
You know what? I like friends that are honest.
And so am I. So am I. I'm joking about it. I'm still
I
friends
once
with him.
told Brandon to quit or get better. Like there was a point. I don't mean to be mean to him, but like you have a goal, right? He's like, yes. What's this goal? To do this at this level. Okay, then you need to do these things or find something else to do. These are very base. I would not ask someone who wanted to make music to not learn how to create a melody. I'm not saying you have to read music, but you need to be able to know how to make a hook and a melody and shit like that. And
Yep.
Brandon was like trying to bypass all that stuff. Just well, if I just draw, then people will praise me. Like that's not how it works.
No.
So that's how your mom might, but that's not
It
how.
works.
He just makes some stuff, helping people. You can pay to have some bundle. Oh no, goodness. Allison's got lots of friends.
Yeah, I do. Mother was actually commenting on that yesterday at Easter that I had a lot of friends. I'm like, yeah, it's because I'm not an asshole. I can be, but what's the point? It's too easy.
Yeah, and I just turn you off.
Well, maybe
Just go
that could be
delete.
a possible. This
Yes,
guy,
I give nobody mod control on these channels. Like, you know.
me once, then he took it away. Jerk.
Yeah, I took it away. Sorry.
It's not like I do anything.
Really gotta get on talking. Yeah. I just yeah, like these cats have talent and they have names and they have getting back on Bill, like that just think like sometimes artists kind of go back to their original plans, like just fall back on whatever they were doing before they were doing stuff. And it's kind of like sometimes it works. I'm not going to say don't, but more often than not, you have to also read the room, you know? Like no, like I used to say this, like nobody in like shirts, marketing would never be like, give us something we haven't seen before. You have to you show them that, then they don't want it, and then when someone else does it, they go, why don't we have anything like that? And then you have to show them the shit you gave them like 2 years before. That's happened to me. God knows how many fucking times. Like they only want it after someone else did it, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I still think that guy helped. If he just tapped into what he was doing before and what he's kind of known for with the Max, and he created somewhere in between, he could pick up a lot of followers on that, just on the nostalgia, you know,
Yeah,
the
I agree.
nostalgia fact. And hey, man, there's nothing wrong with that. Going back to DC, and you can see what happens. Stay relevant. Uh, I'm unfamiliar with what he did past that point. Be honest, the only thing from DC I've picked up since the mid 2000s would be the Court of Owl stuff. Back when that went down, that's about it. I keep hoping Capullo would do a Swamp Thing series or a mini series, but
I would
everything's
buy that in a
Batman related.
heartbeat.
Yeah, he did that pinup, and I was like, just do a whole fucking thing. No team ups, just the Swamp Thing.
Just Swamp Thing.
But that company's hell bent on only making Batman comics. So whether you
That's
want them
true.
or not, like,
That's true too. Can't argue with that.
so what are you gonna do? Trying to get him to do something along those lines. Oh, nice. And you're unfamiliar because he didn't do anything. They wouldn't. Oh, I see.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's a shame.
Yeah.
It's just a weird company now. They put a lot of effort into making like realistic Flintstones characters. So I don't understand what's going on over there. I'm not against an experiment like that, but they put a lot of effort into that realistic Scooby Doo Hanna-Barbera thing, and I was just like, who is this for? There must be some whole market here I'm unaware of.
I don't think
Just a
we knew who that was for.
casual fan of realistic Scooby Doo.
This will sell.
Sometimes I get you have a license or you own some stuff, but like maybe getting Kyle Baker on it would have been a better. You could have done something realistic but with the cartoony bent.
Hmm. I actually just recommended somebody talk to Peter Smitty the other day about promoting their book, their Kickstarter book. He's got a whole promotion stream he does for indie creators.
Reds drive me nuts. Enjoying watching. Hey, what's up, Royce? Just got done reading Baker's Plaza. Oh yeah, dude.
Oh,
You know,
nice.
I'm not a religious man, but his King David book is pretty fucking amazing too. I saw him at San Diego Comic Con 2000. I don't know what year that was, but I just remember seeing him there once, and it was years ago. I think it was like 2011 or something. And I was flipping out. I'm like, King David, you know. And he was like, and he was whoever he was sitting next to. I was like, King David's fucking amazing. I love that book. And then he sits there and he looks at this. He was with the girl and he goes, "I told you." And they were like rolling their eyes. And I'm like, "Oh, I just walked into something." Like,
That's funny. That's really funny.
but his Plastic Man is fantastic.
Mm. Well then, what did I just? I'm just gonna see myself out, and it'll all be good.
I know what it was. Is I was walking in between booths that I was doing signings at and stuff. So I was just in a hurry, but I was like, I stop and go, "Whoa, Kyle Baker," because it was against the front, like
Yeah.
the wall that would be in between you and the outer hallway of Comic Con.
Oh, yeah.
So it was like
Yep.
like walking along that edge, just stop, and go, "Hey," and then I just splurt out, King David,
That's awesome.
and
I
he
can
just
so
goes,
see you
"I
doing that too.
told you."
That's fantastic.
I was like, glad to know. I helped an artist win an argument.
I'm the best.
I'm a huge fan of Cole. I like a lot of other stuff, man. Yeah, Plastic Man's great.
Mm. My best friend, she loves Plastic Man. I got her some of the originals. The Police Story comics or something, or whatever they're originally called, when he was like the villain. And I can't remember the original creator's name.
Bolt, right? Wasn't it? Yeah.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah.
I believe he committed suicide.
I do not know. My knowledge, like I was seriously, like I said, I grew up in Lakeside, California, which is East County, San Diego. And we didn't have a comic book shop until like 1992.
Jack Cole.
Like they had one when I was Jack Hole. When I was a kid, there was one, but it was just like in the 80s. There was one, but it was just like a guy who had a shop with a bunch of old Silver Age comics in there. He wasn't doing anything new. And I only walked in there once, and he was really annoyed I was coming in there. He thought I was a library and shit. So I'm like, all right. I never went in there again. So like, I had Wizard, and I didn't even discover Comics Journal until 1998 when the Kevin Eastman interview won.
Okay.
So like, that was the one I walked in. I'm like, is every issue this great? And I was like, no. I mean, some are, but it's a lot of indie stuff that not my cup of tea. So a lot of these stories and like who worked on what, I was just limited with whatever Wizard would cover, or sometimes I'd get a Heroes Illustrated or something, So it wasn't
I remember
like I
Hero.
had it. And even at Comic Con, like my experiences weren't sitting around waiting for signatures. I was just hanging around Artist Alley, which was not the kind of Artist Alley we have now, where people are selling prints and stuff. There was only like one or two people ever selling prints. It was guys selling their own indie books.
Mhm.
And so it
Yep.
was always like trying to find like the next indie book. Like I got a few of them still up here, like Pete the Peeled Postal Worker,
Oh, cool.
and shit like that. Really amazing to see that blue jar. Yeah, I still don't know why Jacqueline. Yeah. Oh wow, I did not know that. I didn't know anything about it. So I learned a lot of this stuff now.
Yeah.
Dealing with
Hefner
Roman
was
covers.
Hefner, I believe, owned the rights to Plastic Man for quite a while.
What's the name of this character? It's Uncle Jerk from Jerk Comics on YouTube, my friend. If you're not familiar, go check out Jerk Comics YouTube site. Tons of great documentaries and interviews.
Yep.
Yeah, so I learn a lot that way.
Well, I'm definitely looking forward to when you cover that one. Do Jack Cole.
But I mean, Baker took over on the Shadow series, which is the first time I, discovered his work, and it was great. You know, so
Oh, Jack Cole and Woody Ducks are in the research phase. That's awesome. I'm looking forward to those.
100%.
Shadow deep dive, dude. Hell yeah. Yeah.
I had a kill for a black and white edition of that series.
That's so good.
And I just gotta say, man, I love me some Sam and Twitch. Are my favorite Spawn characters. But there is a character in there named Twitchowitz, and he looks just like Twitch, and he hangs out with this character who looks just like Sam, man. And I'm like, it's gotta be where McFarlane picked them up from.
McFarlane would never do that. What are we talking about? That's crazy talk.
Well, he definitely McFarlane has that weird way of drawing hair, right? Like especially in the
Yeah.
'90s, right? It's straight up out of that Sienkiewicz stuff. Go look at
completely.
Sienkiewicz. Yeah, 100%. Like
It's completely.
Shadow Deep Dive. Hell yeah, yeah. So I was able to when I was younger, I was able to piece the two just visually. Go, oh, this is where he got it, and I could see it. No, never any oh, just cool. It was like, all right, more of this kind of stuff. So
Oh, that'll be good.
Baker and Cooler are my two favorite shadow. Yeah, he's dope.
Oh, and the Phantom. Nice. I've read a bunch of the original novels. Novels is probably a bad word for pulps. And they get better over time, but some of them are really good. Some of them are, well, I see where Batman got a bunch of ideas from. So
Well, Batman pretty much comes from one of those Shadow stories. He even put on he used to put on the
yeah,
cover. This is what
yep,
inspired Batman.
yep.
Straight out. Batman, like Star Wars, is it's a
It's a
melting pot, right?
conglomeration of a bunch of
Yeah,
things.
it's a classic American. Like we just take this and that and shove it all together, and then boom.
Yeah. I mean, the Joker comes right from the Shadow, stuff like that. So, but yeah, Batman's right from the Shadow. Now I want to read that series again.
Strippers is really good all over the pulse. Some of those. Oh, nice. Yeah, Lakeside has had such a limited access to entertainment. I got the Sunday comics and whatever was on TV. That's about it. Until, like I said, the early 90s when I got the those first publishing Turtles books from a kid at school. I saw him reading them. I was like, I don't know what that is. They look like Ninja Muppets, and so I was drawing. What was I drawing? I was drawing like images out of like Ninja Gaiden shit. So I like traded him a bunch of art for his comics.
Ugh. I had those first publication ones. There, the color in those I loved.
Yeah, Kevin talked. I asked him about that once, and he was saying that they had managed to make copies of all the art before they put duotone on it. So they had the lines, the inks before the duotone that they were able to use.
That's why it
The
worked.
dude colored it. Yeah.
I was thinking ahead.
Yeah, I colored. Kevin Eastman is cousins with the guy that I was working on a comic with one, Adam Kogan. And so he introduced me to him. And then he did these Biz and Buzz figures, and in the back is a little book with these storyboards, right? That he had planned on trying to do an animated thing with Biz and Buzz. I think now they're finally doing. And I colored those storyboards for him. So
Oh, cool.
yeah. So if you ever pick that up, that's the one time I got to work with actually colored Kevin Eastman's work.
That is awesome.
You know, as good or bad, I don't know if I was qualified to do it at the time, 2007. You know, the only person who I put him up on DeviantArt, and I've only gotten one like on those boards, and it was from Rob Trapp. I was like, I accept that. Like, I wish I could cut it off. No more likes on that. You know.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah. Yeah, it was awesome. You know. So I talked to Kevin for a few hours on the phone over that, and then about 2015 they had this thing at IDW. It was some dinner. It was like $500 something a plate. My buddy, he had a friend who bought the ticket. It was like limited to 20 people, and he got a ticket, but he couldn't make it because he was in the UK. And so my buddy asked me if I'd like to go. And at the time, I was doing covers for him. I was like, yeah, I'll go down there. So it was like got to hang out with Kevin Eastman all night and then have dinner with him. And then I was like, hey, remember I colored those business? But he's like, Rob. And so everyone was like, who the fuck is this guy? You know? I'm like, I draw Skylanders covers. You know, they weren't interested in me, at all. But they're like, why does he know? So that was cool. And then I was able to shoot the shit with him there about it a little bit. He's as nice. Kevin Eastman is as nice as one can be. I imagine he doesn't seem approachable because everyone's trying to like. He's he's great.
Yeah.
Like if you're an artist that ever gets to work with Kevin, he's super awesome.
Is it he sold me the original comic. So
he gave me a bunch of shit too. Like when I first met him, I was at that San Diego Comic Con because we went to Eric Larson to get a review of this comic we were pitching. Luckily, he gave me the thumbs up. But so my buddy, we were on a high, so he took me over there, and Kevin had the heavy metal booth up, and we were sort of chatting, and I was like, I don't know who. He was like, Richard Corbin. I'm like, I don't know who you're talking about. And so he gave me a bunch of Richard Corbin shit. Like he just loaded me up with all these hardcovers and shit. Nothing Turtles related, just all the other shit I should be learning about.
It's still cool.
Yeah, I kept all of it too, because even though I was like, Corbin's dope, not quite my thing, but I was like, oh, I knew the art once I saw it, because especially the one with the shark story.
Mm-hmm.
Like
he did.
I was always like,
it's a recent thing he did, I think, or something. It might have been a collection recently with Shadows of the Grave. Richard Corbin did that. I remember that.
Yeah, and so his stuff always had that murky. In the 70s, the 60s, and the 70s, they would always color oceans a certain kind of green, like the way they would paint it a certain green that is not really available. They don't do it anymore, and so I was always attracted to that. It's weird, right? So I remember my uncle having an issue of heavy metal, and that story was in there. And I remember it because the ocean, the greens. Yeah, I saw Kevin Eastman's like interview on Comics Kayfabe, and he was definitely having like a PR face on. It was more formal for him, like he's super. Like put it this way, he's so nice. I'm just sitting there. Once he knew who I was, then he came up there and he like pretend kneed me in the face. Bah! You know, like he's super great, dude. You know.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I
And I
was
would
talking.
ask him questions and he'd have the simplest answers too, right?
Mm,
Because I was like, I really loved his Miller like inking on like that one short story in Turtles where like they go fight that gang. They're in like a pole vault gang fight,
mm.
and it
Yep.
had like that kind of like 80, Dark Knight kind of Miller inking. I was like, yeah, what did you do to ink that? He's like, oh, I just used a Sharpie, like this right here. Like I was like, damn it, like I was hoping there was some trick, I was like, it's gonna have to learn how to ink, like
That's with I asked Bernie Wrightson that on something. I'm like that he adapted a Cthulhu story. I can't remember which one. It was in his collection of his eerie stuff, his eerie creepy stuff that he did. And I asked him like, "How did you get that gray tone? I want that gray tone." He goes, "Oh, I watered the shit out of my black ink until I basically got it right." So I'm like, fair.
right.
Like,
I keep
I
dreaming of talking with him and Laird both. Yeah, I've never met Laird in person,
I've met
but in
both.
2000, I told this story before, but in 2004, 2005, there was a forum online where artists were always posting their work called Sketchbook Sessions. It was Shane
Mhm.
Glines, the concept artist over at Warner Bros. Shane Glines. He had a message board where we were all just posting art, and that's where Sean Galloway and the Lead Heavy guys all, like when Mignola was on there, and like he's the one that put out the call for like open tests on Hellboy cartoon. Just send me a design, and and that's like Sean got picked up on there from that. And
Yep.
so I was on there posting rando turtles, and I had seen this preview animation on Katsuka for a Spanish animated thing called El Cid. Big dudes, these big drawing, and so I was like, oh, it'd be fun to draw turtles like big like that because they're small, right? So I started doing that, and the artist who was drawing over at Mirage Studios at the time, Scott Cohen, was on the forums, and he's like, hey, would you like doing a backup story with that kind of stuff on there? And I'm like, yeah. He's like, well, I just got to run it by Peter. And I'm like, all right, cool. So I put together some stuff and he ran it by Peter. And Peter was like, no, they're too big. you know?
I talked to Bernie actually more than once. He was a staple at Boston Comic Con for years, and literally one year went up. I'm like, "Will you sign like an entire suitcase worth of comics for me that you did?" And he's just like looks around. He's like, "Yeah." And there was like nobody at his table, and it blew my mind that there was nobody there.
It does happen every now and then.
So I
Depends on what
literally,
the flavor is, of the month.
yeah.
And then sometimes they can get overlooked. Yeah.
So I literally brought up a suitcase filled with all of his books that basically everything he's ever done in it. He signed everything for me. And he was selling like original art, like sketches for like 25 bucks and stuff like that. I bought a shitload of them. So then somebody else found out he was doing that, like bought a bunch of them, brought them back to their table, jacked the prices to sell them.
Yeah, that happens.
It was just like, ah. But yeah, no, I met him more a bunch of Boston Comic Cons. So
I cried so hard when he died. The man and Keith, legit.
yeah, no,
Yeah.
Wrightson's always been a favorite of mine. Like he's one of my absolute favorite artists. And if you look in my art style, you can see it. But you got to kind of look for it. It's not doesn't
Instead of
stand
where's
out.
Waldo's, where's Wrightson?
Yeah, basically, where's Wrightson in my art style? Yeah, he was great. Mm.
Oh shit. Well, I'll ignore that.
Yeah,
Check this.
I loved well, I mean he created Swamp Thing, but I love that run so much.
And yellow. Still an more.
Yeah, you pretty much have to do that nowadays. Yeah, you gotta hang those up again.
It's an unfortunate side effect of the pandemic is the tech bros couldn't go on vacation anymore, so they fucking infiltrated. You know what I mean? Like all the fucking auction sites are in eBay and just like jacked up the price on everything.
Yep.
You know. So a lot of the stuff I got was before, right? Literally, I bought 3 pages of Capullo. I got really nice Spawn pages that have Spawn and Angela and Cog all on there. All that stuff's impossible to get now. Like, but I got it right before COVID hit. I remember at the time my wife was just like, "Why are you spending $5 grand on 3 pages?" And I was like, "Well, one, it's going to him. It's not going to some fucking collector." I'm like, two, because I want to own something from Spawn, and three, here's the fucking page. They're brilliant, and so. But now I'm like, they're probably five worth. If I put them on a heritage, I would never, until
Mm.
like maybe I die. I'll make sure that they don't go to waste.
Yeah.
But like they'd probably go for $5 grand a piece now with the way the market is. Like. And I told her, like, in a few years they'll go for five a piece. No, now, like, so weird. Did manage one of those insane Nakatomi prints. Keep praying we see that Frank artist. Yeah. Yeah, why that Frankenstein doesn't have an artist edition is beyond me.
Yeah. Mm. That Frankenstein is just amazing. I asked him if he was ever going to do a Dracula one, and he was just like, "No, I don't like Dracula." I'm like, fair.
Maybe he didn't want to compete with Mignolas.
Mm. So now, so 5 years, that and Mr. A on top of my list. Ah, Dick goes Mr. A.
They announced Oh, Mr. A. Yeah, that one's weird. Like,
That's putting it mildly.
I know like Frank Miller wanted to do something with him on that. And
That doesn't surprise me.
I was always just like, all right. Again, like
I love
I
Frank
just think
Miller
if you're
stuff
at a
a lot.
if you're at a certain age in comics, you're older, and you have a name for something, just make a character that's just like the character you were known for, and just do that. Well, fuck. I guess you can go the John Byrne route these days and just go the untold fucking X-Men shit and just sell bootleg comics. I never thought I would have seen the guy who got sued for an X-Men is just outright drawing X-Men now, like on his own. Like
Yeah.
that's great. I mean, it's power to him, bro. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not gonna shit on that one bit. Like, just never thought I'd see it. Like, all right,
No.
fair enough.
Weird.
Yeah, when I think of how Steve Ditko lived in real life, I think of. Have you ever seen the movie Conspiracy Theory
Yes, that yeah,
with
that
Mel Gibson? Yeah.
Lincoln
Like I just imagined it had to look like that, right?
yeah lived up in the tower. Yeah,
just filing cabinets everywhere, like
yeah,
wall to wall filing cabinets. Had to be.
yeah.
Like
I could see that with Nico.
props to Burn on that ish by that Mass Bros. I wouldn't pay for it considering some of the stuff he said. Yeah, I
Oh,
get it, but
I
props
wouldn't.
to him. I mean,
I won't give him any money ever again. And Byrne used to be one of my favorite artists. I still love all the stuff I have that he did. But he'll never get my money again. The man wasn't dropped as a child; he was purposely thrown.
no, his uh his testimony against Marv Wolfman was one for the ages, I suppose.
Well, it's his stance on trans people being
Oh, did he
basically
say something?
pedophiles and shit. Yeah.
He had to weigh on some shit no one asked for.
Yes. That's exactly it.
Right.
And
Whatever happened to nice Canadians? When Canadians get so angry in the last 4 years, like they're on the border doing it. Canadians used to be nice. What happened?
yeah,
What
and
happened?
then he
I can
I
see why
don't
the kids in the hall came back. They're like, we got to say some shit. It's got crazy around
know.
here. Like,
What he's saying there is so true because it's just like 13-year-old girls. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. That's another thing. Having been a 13-year-old girl, yes. Uh,
yeah, I'll plead ignorant on this stuff, folks. I don't have any idea about this stuff, so bear with me on it. When it comes to like artists on social media, it's not until they make I mean, like I said, like now I'm learning of it. Like they have to make a real big fucking mess of their lives before it gets to me.
yeah.
And then
And
I'm
Roman
like,
has
really? I
yeah.
mean, I always knew the dude was an asshole, but seriously, I mean, like to an extent, right? Like,
Now
but
he's really showing he's an asshole.
uh, oh well. Long as he was being an asshole to other artists, I'm like, well, let them fight. Like that's between Eric Larson and John Byrne. Like I'll watch that fight.
I'd watch
I'm
that
on the
fight too.
Larson camp. Yeah, but I'll
Yeah, I
watch it.
would
Why
vote
not?
for Lawson on that because Byrne, I think, is too old to fight anybody. But still,
Larson's got a big head. He can just bam, like crush him
it's
like
like
Bonk. You
yeah,
remember
it's like
Bonk?
yes, bonk.
Being a dick.
We're going to hell.
I love Bonk.
I love bonk too. Bonk is great.
Going to read his form as I watch him public. It's sad, man. It's a bunch of dudes, man, from like another time that they were probably making, using dropping the F word all the time during the 80s. Anytime, you know, it's not Adam and Steve. It's that one of those fucking dudes. My
Yeah,
uncles.
that's exactly what he is
Yeah,
basically.
yeah. Bygone era. Probably still use the word homo and shit like that.
Yep.
Yeah. Sad. The world needs more empathy.
Damn right.
Yeah.
No, he couldn't shut up. That was part of his problem.
What color pencils do I use? Mostly polychromos. I got maybe four uh, Prismacolors. And there's really these real light colors. They just don't have them in the poly, but mostly it's 99.9% polychromos.
Back to an art topic rather than the horrible things we were just discussing about people. So,
I know.
uh,
I was showing Brandon Batman Adventures from the 90s. I was like, let me show you some shit. Let me show you the best Batman comic of the 90s. You never read. And he was like, "What the fuck?" I was like, "Yeah, look at these layouts."
Yeah, they're pretty
Mike
awesome.
Parobeck, you know what I mean? Like, look at this Mike Parobeck art. He was like, "What is this?" I'm like, "Yeah, you know."
Yeah, just nobody knew about it. Like, oh, it's just a tie into the cartoon show. How good could it be? Oh, my sweet summer child.
Well, they had an interesting take on that. It was that they treated Batman as like it was mostly a villain book where Batman would come in and full of their shit.
Yep.
So it really wasn't a Batman; it was a villain kind where Batman would. It was this different take. I really enjoyed it. You know, the art really holds up these days. Like it really holds up.
Yeah, that was good stuff.
$5:30. Well, it's about that time, folks. I normally don't work past 5:30, but I got up late today, so I'm gonna go eat dinner, and then I'll be back on to work on this for at least a couple hours. So I'll be gone for about an hour, or maybe somewhere about an hour, 40 minutes or so. I'm just making omelets for dinner tonight, and then we'll be back on, and I'm gonna continue working. So if I see
Yeah.
you, great. If I don't see you, thanks for hanging out.
It was awesome meeting you, Roman. Oh, should get
Nice
him
to
on
hang
the
out
show.
with you, Roman. Yeah, I should get you on sometime if you ever want to
Should get him
chat,
on
dude.
here.
Yeah, can always just shoot the shit. You know, he can teach me about some stuff because some of the stuff I just
Yeah.
don't know about. Is the 24 count Faber-Castell a good starting point, or should I move to the 30? The 24 count's pretty good. Yeah. I would always say the thing is lighter colors help. A lot of the times they give you the darker colors. Remember, like watercolor, you can always go dark, but you can't go back to light. So awesome talking. Let me know. Always happy to talk. Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be great.
I'll be back.
Love to hang with you.
Yeah, and Christopher Brown, feel free to send me a message if you got a set you're looking at. I can always give you the thumbs up on. Don't stress.
I mean,
I don't want to cut you off.
where is it? There it is.
All right, I don't know what she's doing. I gotta go.
Just be 1 second.
Come on, hurry up.
Coming, Jesus Christ. This is the Faber-Castell Polychromos as he's talking about. Is the
Yeah.
It
They
goes
got
for
the
like,
120 set, right?
yeah, it's the 120,
Yeah, that's the 120. Yeah.
and it goes
So,
for like $200 or something. So it's definitely pricey.
yeah, but you can I with anything else I'd always start lower
small.
and then learn how to kind of like get to the color you want versus trying to look for the specific color, if you don't understand.
Right.
It's always a good time. But yeah,
Yeah, learn
feel free to hit
blending
me up.
and then kind of go there. Yeah.
Gotta go.